Hi, I'm Weston. I love talking about the Astros, and I'm here to give you my mid-season awards and thoughts. This video was supposed to come out sooner. I had it filmed and ready yesterday, and then I realized my mic wasn't fully plugged in, so it was a nice crispy mic that was popping a lot. It sounded as if I had a popcorn thing right here. It was real bad. So, I'm redoing it tonight. Sorry about that. It was a 3-day break, and good lord, I miss making videos and watching Astros baseball. It's not fun. I missed it. So, 2 bits of house cleaning before I get into the video. One, the Altuve walk-off video from Sunday is now my second most viewed video on the channel, and bar none, it blew my second best recap video out of the water. It is easily the #1 recap video I've ever made. The response to that, with how many people watched it and commented, and the likes were just out of this world. That meant the world to me. I really can't thank you guys enough. That video just took off and never looked back. I believe it is almost at 1,200 views, which is mind-blowing. And on top of that, this is also my, so this Friday was my 1-year anniversary of posting a video on here, and I completely forgot about it, because I was bitter about the loss that was 4-0. So I'm really sorry about that, but it's been a year that I've been doing these. I'll probably do a longer, thank you and celebration for the 1 year of my first recap, since I completely forgot about my first year in general. But with that out of the way, on to the actual awards, and then I'll talk about my thoughts. So, first up, MVP. I have 2 of them because I can't pick one, because I feel like if I pick one, I'm doing a disservice to the other. The 2 that I'm going with is Correa and Altuve, and the reason I'm doing 2 of them is because Correa is statistically better in almost every category, right? He leads the team in on-base, he leads the team in WRC+, he's the better player, statistically speaking, right? 3.8 Fangraphs WAR, that's 8th among all position players league-wide, a 385 OBP, which is fantastic, and 16 home runs through the halfway point with a 149 WRC+. Those are great numbers, right? He's having a fantastic season. Statistically, the Astros' best player in the MVP. But I don't feel like he's having as good of a season as the numbers indicate. I know that sounds really weird, but my gut feeling is just Altuve feels like the MVP to me. And that is completely just the eye test and my gut feeling on it. And again, they're both having fantastic seasons. Altuve is 15th in WAR among all players, position players wise, 3.2, 20 home runs, a 138 WRC+. He's having a great season, a total return to form for Altuve, which is great. And maybe it's that, since Correa was pretty decent last year and Altuve was awful, and now they're both back to really good form, but Altuve just feels like the bigger jump from last year to this year. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's my blinding love for Jose Altuve, because he is the greatest player to ever play in Major League Baseball. I don't know, but I can't say one way or the other, so I'm going to put both of them here. They're having great seasons. I have no complaints whatsoever out of either of them. Second, best pitcher. I'm going to do a starter and reliever for this. Best starter, Lance McCullers Jr. Signed him to a big extension in the offseason. He is completely showing that he is worth every penny of it. So far, leads the team among all starters in ERA and ERA+, a 2.94 ERA and a 148 ERA+, which is magnificent. He really should have made the All-Star team. Bit of a snub there. Not a bit of one, quite a big one. He has a bit of a walk issue this season, but that's really the only knock you can make. He's got great stuff. He's looking good. If he can get that walk issue under wraps, he can have an incredible second half of the season. This season, I believe he has started 17 games. He's only allowed 3 or more earned runs in 3 of those games, so he's doing really well in that area. Most of his games are 2 runs or 1 run or a couple of shutouts. And with that, his lone blow-up this year was the 6 earned run, 4 1/3 innings, directly after his COVID shot, which is the COVID shot game, I'm going to say, where he reportedly could barely walk, and afterwards, according to him and Dusty Baker, had to get multiple IVs. So if you take that out of the way, his ERA drops to a complete 2.40, which is fantastic. And since that game, he has a 2.45. So he is very, very good. If you remove that, again, below 2.5 ERA is magnificent. And I feel bad because that game kind of messed him up a little bit. But again, I think he is going to have a great second half. I'm going to say, bold prediction, he is going to receive Cy Young votes this year. I don't know that he'll finish top 5 or top 10 or what have you, but he is going to receive a few votes. At the very least, he will have that next to his little icon on Baseball Reference. He's going to get some. Best reliever, it's Ryan Presley. You're not surprised. Ryan Presley's magnificent. 16 saves so far, 1.42 ERA, 3.08 ERA plus. Ryan Presley's having a fantastic season. Career year for him. Made the All-Star team again. He's fantastic. Don't act surprised. Ryan Presley is out of this world so far this season, and that is great because last year was a bit shaky. Next up, Rookie of the Year. This was... I think a lot of people think I'm going to go one direction. I'm not. I'm going Luis Garcia. He's having a really good season. He was almost the pitcher of the year for the Astros. Realistically, he's doing really well. Just a hair higher ERA and a hair lower ERA plus than Lance. He does lead the team in strikeouts, which is very impressive from a rookie. And you might say, Weston, he played last year. Yeah, but it wasn't a full rookie season. He didn't qualify. A guy who might win Rookie of the Year for the Astros this year, if we're being honest. I don't really know what competition he would have. He's having a great season. 3.06 ERA, really good. A 1.46 ERA plus, which is great. He's having a good year. I want to mention Chas McCormick is also having a very good year. I just view Luis Garcia as a bit better. Not a knock against McCormick. He's having a good year. 10 home runs so far, 124 OPS plus. Very good season. A 162 pace for almost 30 home runs, 29 to be specific. He's having a good year. No knock against him. He's probably going to be a very good rotational outfielder for the Astros going forward, and that's great. That's great to have depth in the outfield position because it seems like he can play everywhere. He's played some right. I don't know that he's played left field, but I know he's played center and right, so that's great to see that out of Chas McCormick. So the next one is the Gold Glove, and it's not who you think, right? You're probably thinking it's going to be Tucker. That's the slam dunk pick. That's what I thought. I looked into it a bit. I'm going with Miles Straw. He is the leader among all center fielders in UZR, and he is second lead league-wide in UZR, which is Ultimate Zone Rating on Fangraphs. He is in the 95th percentile of outs above average on Baseball Savant, 70th percentile in outfielder jump on Baseball Savant. He is having a fantastic defensive season, and he really turned it around from the first waypoint, where he was pretty awful to start the season defensively. And that sort of leads into the most improved player, which is still Miles Straw. Now, I want to be specific. I mean most improved player from the start of the year to now, not from last season to this season. Because if it's that, it's either Presley or Altuve. But going from the start of the season to now, Miles Straw started the season as an automatic out at the plate and a defensive liability. Hands up, who wanted him benched after April? I know I did. I think a lot of people did. He was bad. There's no way around it. He was not running the bases well. He was horrible in the outfield, and he was bad at the plate. Since June 1st, he has completely turned it around. Again, great numbers defensively. Since June 1st, he has a .310 batting average, a .401 on base, and granted, it's not impressive, but a .405 slugging for an .807 OPS. But the on-base and batting average numbers are super impressive. He also has a .366 BABIP, which is batting average on balls in play. And again, that's partially because he hits the ground or the ball on the ground a lot, but that's not really my point. He's doing really well since June 1st. For reference, and I'm not saying they're as good as each other, I'm simply making the correlation because if you go by batting average and on base, Shohei Ohtani since June 1st has a .304 batting average and a .410 on base. So by those numbers, Straw and Ohtani are almost identical. Now granted, that's where slugging and home runs come into play, and Ohtani really just takes the cake after that point. But if you're looking at just discipline at the plate, they're relatively similar. Along with that, he's become super disciplined. A 97 percentile for both K rate and whiff rate on Baseball Savant. Miles Straw has totally shocked me in the second quarter of the season. I feel like a lot of Astros fans kind of owe him an apology because I know I was kind of starting to hate on him, and I think a lot of us were because he looked bad. But he's turned it around in a great way, and that is really cool to see because Straw has always struck me as a nice and cool guy, so seeing him succeed is great. But it's also great because center field is a really good position, and if he can be defensive-wise and on-base-wise similar to Springer, just without the pop, I can live with that. I can live with that real well. That's it for the awards, and now I'm going to go on to my halfway thoughts and sort of talk about what the first half was, as well as get into where do we go from this point on. So, what I've taken from the first half, the offense is lethal. The starting rotation is pretty darn good. Presley is amazing. And the defense is pretty darn good. The main issue that we have is the bullpen. We need to make 1 or 2 moves going into the trade deadline, which I need to make a video on that too. I procrastinate a lot. But realistically, I think the Astros are 1 or 2 moves away from having a pretty close to, I hate saying it because I sound like a homer, a pretty close to perfect team if they make a couple moves in the bullpen going into the deadline. I'd be really happy. I think a large part of the turnaround since the Padres series, which was in, I believe, late April, to be honest, Dusty Baker. He has really stopped over-managing. He's sort of, I don't know if it's that he stepped back or if he's asking Strom and other coaches for more help. I don't know what it is, but Dusty Baker I have not had a complaint about him in a while. His decision-making has gotten better. He's letting the starters just ride it out. He's trusting the guys more, which maybe that's partially because he's actually had a time to actually meet them and get to know them now this season when they can interact a lot more and the COVID restrictions are being sort of laxed. I don't know what it is, but he's gotten a lot better since that Padres series. Starters are getting to ride more into games. They're getting more comfortable. The entire team just seems to be playing much more like relaxed, just a lot more chill, I guess is the best way to put it. And I'm really happy about that because I've always said this. I like Dusty Baker as a person. I just don't love his bullpen management or lineups. But again, as a person, I think he's super cool. And so seeing him succeed with us as the manager, I'm happy about. And that's that, right? So, what are the expectations going into the second half? I don't think it's a hot take to say the Astros are a World Series contender at this moment in time. I have no reason to believe they're not. They have the best record in the American League. I believe the 3rd best record league-wide. They are favored to win the American League pennant by a lot. It's 31% for the Astros, and I believe 21% for the Rays are next up. It might be Boston, actually, but regardless, the Astros are having a great season. They look as good as they ever have, which, given the fact that they just keep kind of circulating through parts, is really impressive. I think the thought is if we add a reliever or two at the deadline, we're a World Series team. I think it is very fair to expect a deep playoff run at this point. I think those are the expectations we should loft upon them, and I'm excited for the second half of the season. It's going to be exciting to see what we do from this point on. Man, they look good. They look really, really good through the first half. And the way they ended the first half, perfect. Man, I don't really know what else to say. So I'll be back tomorrow. Lance starts against the Chicago White Sox, 8:10 Eastern, 7:10 Central. And I'll be here back recapping after that. So that's all I have to say. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. And as always, go Stros.